recording artist in Jamaica was Joe Higgs. His debut single with partner Roy Wilson. The Honorable Edward Siaga was Joe Higgs' first manager, his very first manager. When he recorded a song, Oh Money Oh, that single song sold over 50,000 copies in Jamaica. His name was a household name in Jamaica. But as I have said before, no one or someone should really remember who Joe Higgs is or who he was. In 1964 he recorded There's a Reward for Me for producer Sir Coxson's Downbeat. A song that became an instant classic of suffering and hope. It was in Higgs Trenchtown Yard that the young Bob Marley received years of private tutoring in local technique and stagecraft from Higgs, years before he began recording with his group, the Wailers. Marley later then admitted that Joe Higgs was a genius, crediting him for the international musical success. In 1972, Joe Higgs won the Tourist Song competition with Invitation to Jamaica, whose prizes included a trip to New York, where he performed for the first time. The bouncy tune was uncharacteristic of his more normal root sound, which mixed rhythm, jazzy scat singing with heartfelt left lyrics that express deep political awareness and keen sense of history and classical literature. Songs like So It Go, When You Don't Have Big Friends, and Freedom kept him near the top of the local charts. In 1973, when founding member Bunny Wailer quit the Wailers, Higgs was tapped to accompany his former students, Tush and Marley, on an American tour as opening act for Sly and the Family Stone. They played critically acclaimed shows from New York and Boston to San Francisco, and were chief among the first wave of reggae musicians who brought the music to US awareness. In 1974, another set of former students, the Wailing Souls, joined with Higgs briefly to form the group called Atara. But it was his alignment with emerging superstar Jimmy Cliff, hot off his success in the landmark film The Harder They Come, that brought Higgs' mainstream attention to Cliff's band leader and co-vocalist, often before huge crowds in venues like New York Central Park and Madison Square Garden. Sound of the City and Sons of Garvey remain among the finest work ever recorded by either man. His first solo album came out in the mid-70s called Life of Contradiction and featured jazz guitarist Eric Gale, solidifying Higgs' reputation as he often reminded audiences as the jazz connection for music like I like phrasing my own voice like an instrument. In the compelling 1977 reggae documentary, The Film Roots Rock Reggae, Higgs told director Jeremy Marie that reggae is a confrontational sound freedom, that what it's asking for, acceptance, that's what it needs. Unity's Power followed in 1979. His 1983 single, So It Go. He left for Los Angeles, where he lived in a self-imposed exile until his death. During the past 15 years, he had resumed his official career as a tutor and mentor to a new generation of American-based reggae musicians, and continued to tour the world, headlining festivals throughout North America and Europe. Later albums included 1990's Black Man Know Yourself, backed by the Wailers Band. The collection featured Joe's most famous composition, Steppin' Razor, which had become a signature song for the 6'3" Peter Touch, who was often mistakenly attributed to Touch as its writer. It was Joe Higgs that wrote that. The giveaway line that people used to like is, "Don't watch my sides, I am dangerous." At the time of his death, he was working on an autobiography with his writer, Joe Steffens. Been working on a cross-cultural project recorded at U2 studio in Dublin to be titled Green or Black, uniting Gaelic artists like Sharon and Donald Looney with Higgs in lengthy Irish jazz reggae improvisations. His final public performance was at Ashkinza in Berkeley. He was born on June 3rd, 1940. Higgs is survived by 11 of 12 grandchildren and 12 children, and I could name them as I go along: Claudia Higgs, Donovan, Marcia, vocalist with Higgs and twin Angela, which is also called Dimples. She's the wife of Aston family man Barrett, who is the bass player in Bob Marley and the Wailers Band. What a combination. Coltrane is also called Paul Higgs of Kingston. Marcus Jr. as a matter of fact. Adriel Higgs, Andrew, Christopher as Chris, Maxine, Patricia as Pat, Sean the Baller, Ja Princess Higgs of Los Angeles. He's survived by 12 grandchildren: Nikki, Mike, righteous vocalist Damien, roots vocalist Marshall, vocalist Shabbat, Warren Datthew, Jobeth, Kevin, Johnny, Cindy, Julie, Aston Jr., and great-grandson Paul McMarco. Marcia says, "I want the people to know, even though we were least talked about, Joe Higgs do have family who loved him and cared for him deeply."
I don't remember if I saw Jimmy, but we have another selection by Jimmy. Oh yes, he's here. Okay.
The Higgs family, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters all. After Darlene's intervention, it would be enough really to sing Psalm 84. But I would be remiss if I did not say something, particularly on behalf of the students of Michael and some of the others of the neighborhood in Trenchtown. He was our Jeffrey Stallmeyer at cricket, the most classic batsman you can imagine.
Aye.